there. Hey, Roxanne, go and see us on YouTube. Kane Sirota Novak. We're going live on YouTube. Facebook's not working for me.
And we're live.
So we're going to have a conversation with a great man. All right. Hey, Roxanne, go and see us on YouTube. Kane Sirota Novak.
All right. So I've got a picture of you, Kane, and you're. I'm hearing the audio from before.
You're live.
Yeah, bear with me.
So we're going to have a conversation with a great man. All right. Hey, Roxanne, go and see us on YouTube. Kane Sirota Novak.
All right.
Okay, we're back to normal. Hey, how are we, Mr. John Reynolds? So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kane Sirota Novak. I am the founder of Inspire Millions, a place where you can bring your life to life, all based on your own story. Move your life forward, get your voice out there, create your audience, and know that everything is based on your story. And here with me today is Mr. John Reynolds. Drum roll, please.
We made it. We finally made it after all the technical issues and bits and pieces. It's all perfect. This is how we roll.
This is how we roll. So this is fantastic. So today's topic, John, is we were having a bit of a chat last week. We had a massive phone conversation, which was almost 5 hours, I believe.
Yes.
That was huge.
It's amazing, is it, when time's all relative, when you can have a good conversation and time is an illusion.
Yes, time is an absolute illusion, absolutely. Today's topic that we're going to discuss is how to stand up for what you believe in. It's a very powerful aspect, John.
And doesn't that open up a lot of different perspectives and notions and understandings and fears and worries and doubts and interpretations and all of those different adjectives? And yes, looking forward to diving deep into a narrative with you.
Yes. Well, I'm going to start with a little story of mine of, one of the moments where I had to stand up in my own belief of what it is that I believed I wanted to do. And it was pretty tough. There was a moment there where, so I was 16. I had, for most of my life, young life, I was a big kid. It's pretty fat, and I copped a lot of abuse for it, a lot of bullying, like years, 10 years of bullying, and a lot of it, was from a sister who did a lot of psychological bullying. Really screwed me up on my own self-belief. So I really struggled for a long period of time. And you would have read my story post about when I first had a moment there on stage when I was 5 years old, and
yes.
I was like, I want to do this, but I never had the courage to do it, right? Until I was 15, I went to an audition for a friend for their support, and they asked me to audition, and I kept saying no. And just to shut them up, I said yes.
Yeah.
Did the audition, got the part, and then it was a raving success. And then people were like, "My God, that you found your gift." And at that time, I was studying to be an architect.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still creative, but I was by myself. And for so much of my young life, I was just doing things by myself. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have the courage to step up. I had a lot of self-worth issues. And that was all associated to all the bullying that I was getting, just when I hide away a lot. But when I was with adults, I came out of my shell because I felt like there wasn't any judgment.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. The moment you feel safe, you can allow yourself to be who you are.
And that notion of what safety is going to be different for every single person. I mean, as you were talking, I had this flash of all the things that have transpired in my life and all the potential. I don't remember my earliest fears. I'm sure they were there. And as you go through, I was a very sensitive kid. I experienced bullying. as well, and as that sense that the powerlessness, that somehow that over time something was sort of driving from the other side. So as much as there was things telling me what I couldn't do, there was a part of me that just wanted to get across that line. And only when I was sort of strong enough or resilient enough was I prepared to take that step. And it's amazing when you're doing it, the fear is gone when you're in that moment. It's really only the mindset or the neurological process that's telling me what I can't do. That's like talk about stories and narratives. And as I got older, I started to realize wherever there was fear, that's where I had to investigate it. And I think about probably the biggest fears that I stepped into was working in security, working as a bouncer, and I was an 18-year-old kid, and as part of the trial by fire that you want to be tested, that these larger, more dominant, more alpha male men would just go up to me and go, "All right, John, I want you to throw that guy out." Now, it didn't matter who he was, and it was like, "Well, why do you want me to throw him out?" And they're like, "I don't care, just do it or get out," right? If I couldn't do the job, I shouldn't be there. So it was interesting that over time, this fear sort of became intensified through the physical manifestation, that potentially I was going to get into a fight with the guy I was throwing out, or I was going to be beaten up by my own colleagues. So there was this kind of double bind. And I don't necessarily think that's how it works for everybody. But I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to be acknowledged for what I thought I was. So I kind of just went out and I don't remember all the outcomes. I'm still here, so it didn't kill me. But it was that notion that I wanted to feel somehow that I had the power to do the things that I was asked to do, because I necessarily wouldn't put myself in harm's way. But like you're saying, "Hey, Kane, why don't you audition?" You're like, and then there's all the fears, then all the worries, then all the doubts that I didn't plant the seed. Somebody else planted a seed for me, and it was up to me whether the soil was fertile or how I wanted to nurture that, or whether I wanted to be involved in it, or whether I just wanted to walk away. So it's interesting that somebody or some other just dualistic experience that somehow propels me forward or holds me in place. Because if I was just to sit around and come up with my own ideas, they probably wouldn't be as grand or as kind of exciting. I mean, here we are, live on that experience. You put me in the comfort zone, right? And technical issues, and we're still doing it. We didn't go, "Oh, too hard, forget about it, moving on."
Absolutely. And tell me, John, give me, I'll finish my story. Like there was this moment for me, right? So I decided, well, that I love this. I love this acting. Oh my God. That was me at 15, almost 16. And I was at a friend's party, and I'd been mulling on this for weeks of how I was going to tell my parents that I was going to change my subjects at school, and that I wanted to be an actor rather than an architect. And I was shitting myself. I was petrified. I was so petrified. And we were at a friend's party, and and all my friends knew, right? I was talking to all my friends about it. And funny enough, the moment I made a decision to change my life, I started getting friends. I started creating intimate relationships because I started doing the things that I wanted to do to push myself forward. And I was sitting there, and it was pissing down with rain, and we're sitting all around, we're all standing around the side of the house, right? And all my friends are gathered around me, and they're like, "Kane, you can do this. Just go up to him. He's had a few drinks. He's kind of happy and merry. So just take this opportunity now and just tell him and see what happens." And I'm starting to bawl my eyes out, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. Anyway, I went up to them and I said, "Dad, I've changed my mind about being an architect, and I don't want you to hate me for it, and I don't want you to be angry or anything. This is something that I really feel that I want to do." And I started crying, and I'm bawling my eyes out. "I just want to do this, Dad. I just want to be an actor, and I've changed all my subjects at school, and I'm really sorry." And he got a tear in his eye, right? You just got a tear, because he doesn't like to show his emotions. Right? He's a really old school, traditional kind of guy, and he doesn't like to show his emotions, and he'd rather, go into a closet and close the door before he showed his emotions, kind of thing. And I saw a tear in his eye, and he was like, "Son, I just want you to be happy. I just want you to be happy doing what you want. And if that's what you want to do, that's okay." And that was like this huge relief, right? All of a sudden, I just went, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Wasn't expecting someone to say it's okay.
Well, that was probably a good performance. You probably saw how good an actor you were, right? I mean, it was like, that's great. I can't beat that.
Maybe. Well, we've got someone. So there's someone on the live. So I'm constantly just looking at the YouTube live. And if they want to write a message, I'm hoping that I can see it if they've got any questions for us. Okay, John?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, this is all about involvement and inclusion. Now, I'm the expert on me, you're the expert on you. The idea that we have anything to offer anybody, it comes about from applied experience. And I think probably can relate to these things, like when I'm getting into acting and so forth. Same thing. It's the idea. I think my dad was probably concerned that I wasn't going to make a living out of it, that there was, I think a lot of parents are concerned, what's your fallback plan? Get a trade. All right, have something that you can, if it doesn't work out, you can always go back and do that. And that was kind of that sense of Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, full time was always available for me, and I never took it. I sort of felt like if I go down that path and become entrenched in that, but my heart wasn't in it anyway. I always wanted to find an opportunity to play, be around people. I spent the early part of my life from sort of 18 onwards being in security. So every night was a whole new ball game, new people, new experiences, new ideals. There was no kind of rinse and repeat. And the same in acting. You don't learn the same script. You learn it once, forget about it. You do that, you forget about it. There's not many jobs that you have where what you learn, you can let it go. It's a novel way to live a life, is just to make it up every single day. I mean, that's a certain type of acknowledgement or courage that a person can kind of believe in, that they don't have to be entrenched or be backed up by what I previously knew. If I let that go, I learned something new. If I learned that go, there's always something ahead of me, and there's constantly stuff behind me. I love that saying about the rear vision mirror. That's why it's so small, so we can see things going behind us, but the windscreen ahead of us is quite large. We see a great vision ahead of us. We get to check every so often, is something chasing me? Is something following me? Is it receding into the background? I like the idea of philosophy, because over time, my philosophy and my experience, if they're not relative, something's got to change. So I only pick philosophy now that still backs me up. For a long time, it was that which doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And I had to question whether I wanted to be killed all the time, or whether I was willing to be challenged on death. So I kind of got away from the harshness of it. That philosophy was still powerful for me all the time, wanting to put myself, going into the gym, being a bodybuilder, putting yourself under massive amounts of heavy weight. It's a crazy idea to think that you get under hundreds of kilos of weights just to see if you can move it. Not for everybody. And people have different things. Some people climb a mountain. Some people skydive. Some people have these incredible ideas of what risk taking is. And it's the same drive that a drug addict might have, or somebody living on the street. We can't compare and say we know what someone's going through. There's still the notion that the same fears, the same doubts can drive a millionaire or drive somebody that's homeless on the street. It can be the same underlying. So like I said, how to stand up for yourself. Let's talk about architecture. There's a notion, there's a blueprint there. There's a sense of what I start with and then what I add to that. And revise, and the diagnostics and the analytics. And some people are more mentally driven. And some people have this incredible heart set about, I just want to do that. It's who I am. And maybe they never find that. Maybe they never get to the point where the 2 points meet. That what I think and what I feel is in alignment. Great notion, but how do you teach it? How do you learn it? and only potentially over time and experience and wisdom and falling down and falling down, repetition. It's one thing to, yeah, we all have our own stories, and it's interesting, what are the links in the chain that get us back to our original ideals? What's the original blueprint or soul code?
Could you give me a moment, John, where you had to make a decision, where you had to stand up for yourself and you had to make it a really clear, courageous decision of what it is that you knew you had to stand up for?
It's funny when someone asks you a question, you think, "Oh, what am I going to go to?" And boom, there's an opportunity or an experience. Now, I remember again that this is my journey of self-discovery. That I was a very sensitive kid. I was very much self-aware and wanting to fit in. We all talk about the things that affect us along the way. So I grew up without a dad around, and that really affected me. That was probably one of the things that I felt that. At that time hampered me, that I didn't have a role model. I didn't have anybody in my life that was able to be my protector, be my guardian. I grew up with a mum and a sister, and I felt that somehow I was neglected or rejected. And my father was still around. I just missed his presence. I missed a clear understanding of what a male or what a man or what a role model was supposed to be. So going into these.
Do you think that that's what propelled you into trying to get more masculine by bodybuilding, by security, because you wanted to feel more like a man?
I felt like the ideals of what was a real man. And again, I mean, I can understand everybody looking. I mean, as a male, I can only relate to the male ideology. So for me, growing up with heroes and growing up with these icons, so people like the $6 Million Man and Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Incredible Hulk, there was always this sort of superhero experience that if I was strong enough, if I was courageous enough, then I could be like them. It's one thing to play the game, it's another thing to believe it. So going into security was about being an alpha male, that somehow no one, being bullied affected me as well, that I wanted to be able to protect myself. And then I had this idea I wanted to protect others, because one of the chances I got bullied was I stepped in to protect my friend, which then put all the focus back on me. And then that started this bullying process, that because I stood up for someone, I was now persecuted for that. So it was almost like a preordained experience that this moment appeared, and I had a choice and I stepped into it. And that started a whole new chain of events. So one of the things happened to me when I started doing security is that, again, I don't know if these were tests or just experiences, but there was a guy that came in and older than me and a lot more muscular and a lot more intimidating. And he was putting it on me. Basically, he was in there drinking, and I think he knew some of the other guards. And he just kept looking at me with this look on his, and I'm like, what have I done? Why? And one of the guys says, "Oh, he doesn't like you, John." And I'm like, why? I haven't done anything. Well, why wouldn't he like me? And you think back then of this fresh-faced kid that just wants to be liked and wants to be accepted, and I've got this person that's basically putting it on me. And so at the end of the night, he's sitting there with his mates, and the guard said, "All right, John, you throw them out." And I'm just like, and then one of the other guards said, "I'll come with you. You just go do what you got to do." So I went up and asked them to leave, and they just looked at me like I wasn't even there. And so I had to find another level or another kind of confident moment where it was like, either saying, my language, shit, or get off the pot. It's that kind of sense of you're either moving into the future or you're just reinforcing your own past. And so again, they just looked at me again and finished the drinks, threw the glasses on the floor, and got up and just staying and kind of slowly ambled towards the door. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? And this underlying sense of this build of frustration, all of this kind of like, why are you picking on me? And I started to get really frustrated and angry. It's like, I haven't done anything wrong. Why am I the one feeling this negative feeling when I am just wanting to be the best version of myself, and somebody has a reflection to me that I'm not comfortable with? So he kept saying things, and and there was just this moment where it was just like I just snapped, and I fronted him, and I said explicitly, and I won't go into all the details, but I basically said, if you want to go, do what you got to do, because I'm tired of feeling like I'm the victim. And the look in my eyes, he saw something change in me, and I don't know what it was to this day, but it was more than just a look. It was an energetic pulse. That was the moment where I stood up for myself and created a very strong moment where it's like, if I'm going down, you're gonna have to kill me in order to make your point clear. Don't know what that was. Still to this day, there's just, you ask me a question and that's what pops out. And he just looked at me and went, that's fine, mate, you're all right, and walked off. And that was it. So over time, there was this sense of whenever I got to that moment, whenever that part of me appeared, it changed not only my experience, but those around me. They felt it, they saw it as well. So it's not only a sense of when we see courage, and I look at courage a lot, when we see people like Muhammad Ali not going into the draft, making a clear sense of what he was prepared to do, even though it cost him the heavyweight title, even though he was persecuted and couldn't fight for 3 years, his self-belief, his preservation of what his boundaries were so powerful. I'm mentioning it now. It makes a clear line in the sand for me. And so we get all of these ideals across the line, and we read and understand. So for me, when I understand my own line, the saying, the standard that you walk past is the standard you accept. Can you hold yourself accountable for your own words, for your own actions? If I say, well, the next time that person does that, I'm going to say this, and it happens, and you go, oh, next time if he does, there is no next time. There's no next time. There's just a moment.
I'm not saying nothing. I don't want to create a scene.
And your experience of talking to your parents, that all the emotion that came with that, all that sense of just wanting the acknowledgement that somehow your personal sovereign ideal of yourself wanted to play, and I needed validation from somebody else, our parents, friends or loved ones, and constantly sometimes we kind of need this reflection. I feel as we get older, the reflection is me. It's just interesting to see where the power lies, either within me or outside of me. And that's a choice as well. That's another whole conversation of where we place our energies. But that for me was one of those moments where at that young age, as coming into manhood, I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to live under the persecution that if it happens long enough, there's a point of like, that's enough. And
so that moment, John, when you were in security and that man was basically mentally antagonizing you, how old were you?
18, 19, yeah.
And how did you feel? Like, what was happening to your body at that point? What was the emotion, and how did you actually, what do you think was that initial decision in your mind that really pushed the buttons? Because you told me, there was a snap in you, and you, right, I'm not going to be a victim. But what was the feeling before that? Like, what was welling up inside you?
It took a while. I remember they put me in the corner of this big nightclub. It was over in Perth, and a place called Club Atlantis. Whether that's relevant or not, whether there's any illusions of the past coming forward, we could have another conversation about that.
Everything happened for a reason, John.
Pretty much. So this sense that they're on a crate in the corner, and even though this room was filled with probably 800 people to 1,000 people, I felt so alone. He kept walking past me with his drink, and he'd give me the death stare. And I just felt like I was all alone. There was nobody there. Nobody had my back. And so the whole night I spent in this sort of cocoon. So maybe this sort of chrysalis that I liquefied myself as the caterpillar. And at some point, the butterfly had to emerge. There was a transformation that went on pretty much over 6-7 hours of the night. It just kept happening. And I was asking the guy, I was like, why is he treating me this way? What have I done? Oh, I don't know, Johnny, he just doesn't like you. And so there was nothing I could do. There was no kind of asking him the question because it was almost like I was afraid to go over and confront him then. And it wasn't till the end of the night of this ongoing, that it was like, if he was going to do something, just do it. Just get it out of the way. I'm tired of feeling this pain. I'm tired of feeling this persecution and this loneliness. I don't want to be in this environment anymore where it's so limiting. And I think because I'd had that as a young child growing up, that I felt alone. I felt this sense of being a misfit. I didn't fit in. I had huge awareness, and I see it in my children, and I see them developing it as well, because we pass this on, and I've got it from my dad and he got it from somewhere. And so this idea that it's not just me dealing with a totally unique experience, it's me taking the weight or taking the responsibility that your parents are going to go, here, I don't know what to do with it, you take it. And so my experience of that is like, all right, well, you didn't have any answers, so nobody's got any answers but me. So there was just that kind of moment where I was just so tired. I was just so finished with this notion that I was going to be the victim. That I felt like I had to stand up for myself. I needed to stand up for myself. And then there was such the look in his eyes. I remember the shift in consciousness that he had, that something about me was not what he expected. And it was almost like, whoa, I don't want a piece of that. There was something in my eyes that he could see in my soul that had always been there. I just hadn't let it go yet.
I want to underline a word that you just used. Need.
Mm-hmm.
You needed it to stop.
Yeah.
It's a pretty powerful word. The moment that you put that on yourself, I need to do this. Mm-hmm. It's not a want anymore. It's I have to. I need this to be done.
It's part of the code, isn't it? At some point, I needed these experiences. When we talk about what we need and what we don't need, it's like the Rolling Stones song. The lyrics, you don't always get what you want, but if you try some hard, you just might get what you need. And so this idea that if we go through life, this dualistic feeling, we need relationships. We need a relative experience to shift. If we're in an uncomfortable position and then we move and it becomes a little bit more comfortable, it's only relative to the point that what was previous was uncomfortable, and then I can free myself or liberate myself. So we kind of need opportunities for outside things to come in to put pressure on ourselves.
So you're saying that we need challenges in our life to be able to expand our experience and expand our soul and expand our mind. Is that what you're saying?
It'd be lovely if we could be lying on the beach in a hammock, sucking a pina colada, and life would just give us these wonderful opportunities to grow and learn. It can happen that way. I've found most often that it doesn't. There's usually pain, there's usually discomfort, there's usually some type of emotional turmoil, and sometimes there's chaos. And then I know myself. I love the saying, you know who you are when you know who you're not. And once you know who you're not, then you're free to step into this new realm, because you no longer have to keep playing, oh, is that still me? Is that what I want to do? It's like you going from architecture to acting. You know who you are, because you know that's not you. Yes, you were following architecture, and probably there's something about architecture that's still creative. There's still a sense of being the architect of your own experience. It's what's relative of the bringing in creativity, bringing in flow, bringing in love, bringing in these ideals that maybe they're not, for me anyway, that are not masculine, right? I used to feel that my softness was weakness. And I think a lot of men can probably identify the fact that when you're gentle, gentleness isn't necessarily going to get you to success, because you got to work hard. You got to be tough. You got to suck it up. You're going to need big balls. You need all these kind of processes that kind of make it seem like if you show any fear or you show any type of vulnerability, you're going to get eaten up, spat out for dinner, right? It's that sense that somehow the older I get, the softness has always been there. This gentleness has always been there. I just didn't like it because of the weakness that I felt that came with it. Now, it wasn't weakness. It was just sensitivity.
John, I've just got to give the audience just an idea of your stature. How tall are you?
6'3", 190 centimeters.
Yeah. How heavy are you?
These days I sit just a little over 100 kilos, but I've been up as much as 120.
Yeah. So you're a big boy, right?
I've never been small, even though I thought I was small. Apparently, I've been reminded over the years I was never the littlest kid.
So you're a big boy, and you still have this softness about you. But one really important, another word that you brought up was vulnerability, right? And men with vulnerability. And, you know, how does a man stand up for what he believes in whilst also carrying the flame of vulnerability? How does a man do that?
You know, that's certainly a multi-pronged question, because every man is going to find his own journey. Certainly, it comes back to acceptance. The programming, the conditioning of how we've been raised. Now, when you're building your own foundation as a child, you can have a house now and you can walk in and you can change the furniture, you can change the decor and update it, but you're not going to be able to rip the whole house up, put down a new foundation, put the house back on it. There's a certain sense that maybe you're not able to deconstruct all of the platforms, but that's the point. Maybe you don't need to. The sense that we've got this life, we've got these experiences to shape us and guide us, and all the things that have happened to me have been essential, has been absolutely perfect for me to get where I am today. And so it's not a case of, oh gosh, I wish I had done this, or I regret these things. I'm very grateful now of all the things. There are no regrets. There are no moments I look back and go, oh, because then I wouldn't know who I am. I wouldn't know the things I had today. So there's a certain level of, like I talk about this duality. There's the hardness and the softness. There's the lightness and the darkness. And so I feel like we need to have both of these experiences in our life. That if something was happening to my child and I needed to step in and be ruthless and be absolutely savage, I could. If I need to show a sense of being calm and being loving and being gentle with someone or even with myself, if I break down and cry, I don't mind crying now. That was always a bit of an issue of not wanting someone else to see those tears or see that part of me, because again, that's that sense that there's a problem there. There's a flaw and a weakness, and yet I'll look for it in others. I'll support people who have their own emotional challenges, and yet I'll, like you with your saying about your dad, I'll pick and choose my moments where I choose to show up in that area. So a word, acceptance, that if we don't let others see the truth in us, then we're not going to see it in others. It's not a one way experience. It's duality. And so the more I see it in others, the more I'm allowing myself, or I allow myself to see more in others because of myself as well. It's definitely the catalyst, isn't it?
Absolutely. I really want to play on this. I want to play on, like, say it again. If you can't see the truth in yourself, you're not going to see the truth in others. Is that right? Is that what you said?
It's a deepness and vulnerability that every single person in my life is just a reflection of myself.
Absolutely.
So I feel like I can have much better relationships because there's no blame, there's no judgment. If somebody says something to me I don't like, I don't sit there and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that to me. That's terrible. I reflect on the fact that whatever they've said has touched me, and it's my experience of it. They didn't say that deliberately to wound me, or they might be angry. They might be saying things, but that's just the truth. And I love the fact that truth can be subjective or objective. And it's my choice how I choose to interpret these things, because we don't really, even if we go down the physiological level, our eyes aren't actually seeing anything. They're just taking in the light and the reflection of what's around. It's up to me as it reflects it back onto me in my brain or in my ears. I'm hearing sound and I'm just interpreting what that means to me. Then my heart sits there and goes, oh, remember that time that happened, John? That's like that. You should be upset about that. I still have sovereignty and domain over how I interpret things and run it through the filters. And again, that's just taken a lot of years of filtering.
But John, come on. How long did it take for you to get there? You know,
I'm still learning.
You're not born with that, right?
I'm still learning. Look, potentially.
Go on.
Well, potentially we are born with all of the knowledge.
Yeah.
And yet you're lying there as an infant, unable to speak, unable to make informed decisions. You kind of have to make all the stuff up as you go. And this is the sense that what's our truth can only be reflective of what's already there, or I wouldn't know what the truth is. So this is a sense over time. I know who I want to be. It just depends whether I give myself the time and the courage and the experience to get there. And this is the sense of we're going along this path, which is why I like talking with you and talking with people, because every single person is a reflection of myself at some point, future or past. When I look at older people, oh, wow, that's inspiring. You know, when I'm 70, I want to be doing that. So I'm just laying the pavement or growing the pathway as it unfolds before me. And as I look back, I can reflect on what I've seen and where I've been. So it's all forward and backwards. The present moment is still the best moment, because here we are having this conversation. There is no sense of I can reflect on things, and it's just my story that potentially may or may not have some effect, depending on who's listening to it.
But, you know, I love the fact that, you know, unless you know your own truth, because I'm all about truth, right? Really understanding your own story, really understanding who you are as a human being, as a person. Who do you show up for yourself? Because when you show up for yourself, you're showing up for everyone else. How does someone do that, though? How does someone stand up in what they believe in when they're not sure what the truth is? You know, how does a regular guy or a regular girl, when they're trapped in, let's say, a relationship where they feel like they can't be themselves?
Well, I guess
feel like they have to second guess every thought and every word that comes out of their mouth. It's exhausting, right? It's exhausting to be in a relationship where you can't just allow yourself to free flow your thoughts and your speech, where you have to try and evaluate, should I say it like this? Should I say it now? Is it okay to? How do you stand up to speak your own voice?
Well, your experience of wanting to tell your parents, look at what you had to go through before there was the catalyst that your dad looked at you. You built yourself up. Your friends were pumping you up. You still hadn't got there yet, even though everyone around you could see it, right? And people can see it, the truth in you. And then it comes down to potential. And just because you have potential, I mean, I've seen it in all different experiences in the acting world, stunt world, bodybuilding, and sports and business. It's like you can see people that have incredible potential, but a lack of willingness. A sense that they're not able to overcome that hurdle or overcome that doubt or the fear or the not being enough in some way. So potentially we're all born with a wound. That's part of the conditions of, or the terms and conditions of playing in this life. Not only do you get to pick it's like you look at a video game and you get the avatar and you spend all your time creating all the basics and what your body structure is going to be, and somehow we're actually wanting to find this perfect ideal. This is why the digital world becomes so good, because you can improve all your weaknesses without having to feel the suffering. So how do you improve your vulnerabilities as a real human being with all the pain and all the suffering? And if you could plug yourself into that computer game, and every time that you got killed in the game, you got electric shocks, or you got some incredible amount of trauma happening to you, you probably wouldn't play it as much, because it wouldn't be fun to die and lose all the time. So it's relative as a human being. The more repetition that you handle, like as a bodybuilder, you don't have the physique. You grow the physique every day, repetition, sets and reps and programs, and the eating and the dieting and the analysis. And so there's a focus that you need to have. So you talk about people in relationships. First step, if you want to be clear on where you're at, is you need to look around at your environment. Look at the job, look at your friends, look at all the things around you. Take an honest look and ask yourself, are you in line with all those values? Are there areas, if you're in a relationship you don't like, it's one thing to acknowledge you don't like it. Now, you still got to get out of it. You still have to find a way to improve on that and not necessarily attract the next partner the same or the next partner the same. Because the evaluation, the idea that you're restructuring and redesigning, and the diagnostics, there's information coming in all the time. And there's a certain saying that paralysis by analysis, that's just as detrimental as being reckless and just running around and trying to figure it out by just doing it all the time. So there's a sense of acknowledgement, as I think with some people, and you talk to people and I talk to people, the little light bulb moments, that little.
Oh, I lost you. John, your microphone just went down. Yep. Just bring that back.
And we're back. Sorry, dude. I just
Great.
had a phone call come through. This is the wonderful ideals of technology, multitasking. So yeah, that sense of finding yourself on the spectrum. This day and age, we're all told we're on the spectrum, right? There's light spectrums. There's all sorts of experiences we can sit in, light and dark, up and down, north and south. We need this relativity to put ourselves. If we're going to go somewhere and you plug it into your GPS, your travel, you need an origin for it to plot the course. A lot of people don't know where they've come from or where they are right now.
But hang on, whoa. People know where they've come from. They want to forget where they've come from.
Well, they're not necessarily realistic about where they are right now.
Right. So this is fundamental. If you ignore where you've come from and you pretend that it didn't happen, you're blocking out a whole bunch of energy transmissions within yourself. You're blocking out memories, you're blocking out circumstances. So you're not growing from them. You're not learning from them. You're not enacting the ability of wisdom to get over challenges by ignoring that they're there. And I think this is one of the most fundamental aspects of how to stand up in what you believe in. Because if you ignore what's happened in the past, it's like a habit, right? If you keep ignoring what's happened in the past, things will happen to you in the present that you don't know how to, or you don't want to deal with. And you do what my kids do, la, not listening, because you don't want to be confronted, because you haven't got the strength to stand up in your own voice. So you'll just ignore it. And you'll do what you did with everything else in your story, everything else in your past. You'll just shut the door on it, or you ignore it, or you pretend it never happened. And if truth is the essence of vulnerability, and truth is the essence of where you're going, then you have to accept all parts of your journey, every single little bit.
Well, you know about me and language, and I challenge people when I say what you have to do. Now, there's a choice in all things. So all the shoulds, have to, must, can't, won't. That's a spell, and we spell our own truth. We need to be aware that magic and science are part of the same experience, because if we're going to do an experiment, the idea is that I'm going to bring into reality a truth or an ideal that I'm looking for. Now, if I say, look, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to go on a diet, and I'm not going to have any sugar and things like that for a month. And at the end of the month, it says, how'd you go? And I went, well, I kind of had sugar then, and I had sugar then. It's like, it's going to be a tainted experiment because I didn't follow the truth of what I set for myself. Now, these are the challenges. If I spell my truth and I tell people it's an incantation about what I'm going to do.
Just check your microphone again, John. Yeah, that's it. Getting used to this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hang on, we're not back yet. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
I think because they're leaving a message now. But if you can hear me, that's okay.
yeah, I can hear you.
Online.
Yeah, great. Keep going.
There we go. We're back. Technology. So you can only judge a tree on the fruit that it bears, not the one it talks about. Not that trees can talk, but you understand the metaphor. So we can look at someone, our friends, our family, our inner circle, our influence. We're going to know when people look at you and you tell them, oh, well, next week I'm doing this, the next week comes, and next week goes, and it didn't happen. My word doesn't mean anything. My words have no emphasis or no power. So for me, your word is so powerful that when I say it, people aren't going to doubt me because they go, oh, yeah, John, we know before, man, you don't have to tell me twice. And yet you hear other people, and when they're telling you, part of you might go, yeah, oh, yeah, we'll see, right? So this idea that people are going to hold you accountable, if you want truth, if you want to know your truth, ask those around you what they think of you. That's perspective. And a lot of people might be delusional, or they might be hiding from a sense of inevitability, and yet there will be someone who's the friend that you need, not the friend that you want. We got a lot of friends, man, that you can go on, look at your friends on Facebook. They're not friends. Okay, let's be clear on what is true. They are people I'm connected to via the internet or via social media. Now, some of my friends are on that list. So again, it's perspective. I don't sit there and hope that when I go out there into the world that I'm going to go, oh my God, John, you're the best, you're amazing. No, I don't expect everybody to like what I do. I want feedback. I want some constructive criticism, and I have to be willing to accept it, or I choose to be willing to accept it because it's again the have to.
Yes, and that's that's a really interesting point, John. Like, you have to choose to accept. If you're asking for criticism, and as you would know, just so everyone else knows, John's a stuntman as well. So he's been working in films, American films, Australian films, beating his body up. And just out of curiosity, John, I'm just curious. What did it take for you to get into stunt work, and what was your first experience like? I'd like to hear that, because I find it really interesting. But
yeah.
So this particular gentleman right here has a lot of success in his life. And what about the people that haven't had? So we get scrutinized and criticized in the film world, acting world. If you've been in that line, people are there to criticize you, and you basically open the door on criticism when you enter into that entertainment arena. It's like, okay, here's what I do, and people will be honest with you. I don't like you, I love you. And it can be quite confronting when you're constantly getting, let's say, for instance, for me, you get a lot of no's at auditions. And then you get people saying, maybe you should do voice work. What are you saying about how I look? What?
You've got a face for radio. Yeah.
And you've got to accept it that, well, that's their opinion at that point. Do I choose to accept it? Do I choose to value it? And do I believe it? And I think there are three things that you have to be really aware of when you are being criticized, or when you're asking for someone to criticize you or question or give their opinion of you. You have to be really strong in who you are, I think.
Well, that brings down to resilience, and that's certainly something I feel is changing today in the world, that children today potentially don't have the same resilience. And not that that's a good or bad thing. There's just a different level of It's like the kids today are more digital, or we were more analog, or we were even before that. The idea of growing up, no phones, mobile phones, no internet, no software. The old landline where you had to bring the old hello, click call, and you talked, and there was like a delay, and they talked, and so some people don't understand or don't have that perception, and so it's foolish of me to try to use that as an analogy or a sense that that's how it works. And one of the things you said that helped me to gain great perspective is there's two worlds that we live in. There's my own inner world, of which is only mine. I can't share that with anyone. You talk about how do we stand up for ourselves. We build that. We build that inner knowledge and that inner base, that my mind, my knowledge does not stop. From the time I wake up, from the time I go to bed, there's a conversation going. Now, some people's conversations are real loud, real distracting, critical, harsh, and that's mental health or poor mental health. When I have the ability to change I can turn that down. I can ask that to be quiet for a while. I get a better sense of working within all the frameworks of all the different voices. Now, some people have a lot. Some people have just one loud one. So that's one world that I'm constantly involved with and managing all the time. Now, then there's the outer worlds. Now, what you see is not what I'm hearing. So it's again the sense, if I put myself too far out into the three-dimensional elements, and I want John Reynolds to be a good-looking guy, I want him to have a great body, I want him to have great success, I want him to have money, I want him to have all of these potentials that potentially, if I have all of those things, then inner John will feel good that I've created all that. But if I lose some of those things, does that then make inner John less than? And so what I've found over the years is I've spent less and less time focusing on what's outside of me and more time of what's inside of me. And then there's just an ability to be able to move myself forward and backwards. And when we talk about the acting world, or we talk about criticism, you can judge me on my performance. That's okay. That's what I did. You do not have the ability to judge how I felt or what got me to that place or how I felt about myself. I mean, look at someone like Robin Williams, who we looked at him and we saw him as this incredible icon, this incredible funny, and only over time we started to see these cracks or these flaws. And when he passed, everybody was like, yeah, he really pushed himself, and it didn't come for free. When he finished his scenes and he went out the back, he was spent, he was exhausted. And then those niggling, then that inner voice dialed up and it started to get going again. And then it was like, well, I got to do more. That's not enough. I'm not happy with that. And we all went, wow, what a great performance. Oh my gosh, he is just amazing. He's the best. So we never truly know what somebody is going through at any particular time. So criticism isn't judging my soul or my code or my understanding of myself. It's only judging what was seen. And so it's sometimes people hear this ongoing narrative. Oh, another person doesn't like me. Another person's judging me. Another person's giving me some things that make me less than. And it's this accumulation. Man, people carry a lot of baggage. People carry a really heavy past. How can you be free to move lightly into the future when you're carrying this massive amount of baggage about all the things that you think are true about you, and none of them are?
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a great image in my mind. You know, people carry the bag, right? Or the semi-trailer. Some people get semi-trailers, you know,
the
cargo ship.
Oh, you're moving in. Okay, here they come. Yeah, it's a freight train.
If you can look at your life, rather than baggage, you've got a gallery.
Yes. Yep.
For people to view your extraordinary life. Because at the end of the day, no matter how shit your life was, no matter how tumbled you got, it can always change. And if you get to walk around with a gallery, rather than a bag of shit or a semi-trailer of shit or a freight train of shit. And you allow people into your truth. When someone does criticize you, yeah. If you've worked on the inner, and really accepted, forgiven everything that's gone on in your life, when someone criticizes you, it doesn't so much affect you. Like criticizes something about your past, I'm saying, not something in the present, but something in the past. If you've done the work on really accepting and forgiving your things, because we're just human, right? I mean, you don't know everything when you're a kid. You've got to learn, you've got to evolve, and you've got to experience stuff, and you've got to make decisions in the moment. And sometimes, depending on which behavioral aspects you've got, you're going to make some good decisions and maybe some bad decisions at the time. But you have to accept that that was your decision. And you can always forgive yourself for making the wrong decision, because you just did the best you could at that present moment with the knowledge and the wisdom that you had and the behavioral aspects that you were in control of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, two things that sprang to mind is one thing now, it's like you can put all of your gallery into these little things now, right? Like a flash drive. We don't even need a gallery, right? We can just here, plug this in, and here's my show reel. And I feel like at the end of life, we just get to show God or whoever the energy is, the source of creative flow. We get to show them a show reel, and it's your choice. It's your show reel as an actor and as a stuntman or whatever we do. There are just moments that we can choose to highlight. Now, if I was to pick all the best highlights of my life, they wouldn't just be all the moments where I look the best. There would be some moments where I would be dark. I mean, you might marvel at what I can do, but you didn't see me how often I was crying on the floor or how often I was paralyzed with fear. I mean, those moments would definitely be woven in, and you would have this, when you watch a good show reel, it takes you on a journey of awareness about what this person has been through. And you talk about the idea of the human element. Yes, we are a human being. We still don't know what consciousness is. We could still have an amazing conversation of just trying to understand, like, how does this happen? How do we end up as just two cells coming together? And look at us now, right? How does this fully formed, articulate, knowledgeable individual come from just two cells interacting? That's magic. That's so much of an interesting conversation that we do not even have the understanding of, and this world around us. So when we get to the point where we're making informed decisions, we're making decisions every day. When we wake up, am I getting out of bed or am I staying in bed? What am I going to wear? What am I going to eat? Now, sometimes these decisions, we get a real powerful one. Like, today's the day I'm asking for a raise, or I'm going to leave my partner, or I'm going to do something. I'm going to tell my parents that I don't want to be an architect anymore. We still have to make all those other decisions. We can't just sit there and go, all right, well, I don't know what I'm eating. I don't know what I'm wearing. I don't know what I'm doing. And so if this one decision becomes so powerful that it obscures all the rest, this leads to dysfunction. This leads to things falling apart that we still need them to be in line, the repetitions of life. So this is a sense of some of the things that I like to remind people. If the decision is so important that it's distracting you, then either stop and make the decision, accept it, keep moving forward, or decide when you're going to do it and be accountable for it. Like I said about your word. You listen to your own word. You know if you're a fraud or not. You know if you follow your own path of truth and self-discovery. You can't question. I don't question my word. No one would ever doubt the fact that when I say I'm going to do something, and the look in my eye and the resolve, I would be the person who would be hurt most if I
just like this conversation today, John. Just like this conversation today. We only talked about this last week, by the way, everyone. And John was like, "Yeah, let's do an interview together." I was like, "Okay, why not?" And then I told him this morning, "Yeah, we're going live," and he was like, "What?"
And then there was technical issues, and we're here and we're doing it. And the best part about it is that all I've felt like it's just you and I having this conversation. Now, whether there's 2 people or 200 people, it's more of a sense is that this is the choice that I choose to be here. I'm not sitting here with you worrying about something else, thinking I could be doing something. It's just a commitment to being present and sharing my truth. Now, there might be later on, and then there's negative comments or there's some trolling or whatever, right? That's okay. That's going to be a future experience. That's not relative right now. But I think a lot of people bring the future or bring the past with them into moments. And that taints the pureness of it, because we don't have, something's blocking us. There's going to be an issue, or there's going to be something. When I get there, this is in my way. And then I realize I'm not free. I can't liberate myself if there's something that's stopping me or challenging me about my movement.
Free.
That's repetition. Yeah.
So it's another great word, free, right? Freedom, the freedom to stand up for what you believe in, the freedom to be present, the freedom to connect with someone, the freedom to be intimate with vulnerability, with accountability. Because, you know, with being intimate, this is a really interesting thought process. With being intimate, you know, you not only do you have to be vulnerable, but you also have to accept the other person freely in an intimate relationship. If you want it to thrive, if you want it to grow, you've got to fertilize it. And that comes from truth. Truth is like the watering can. If the more that you're allowed, or you feel that you're allowed to be your truth, and the more that you are allowed to the freedom of your other partner to be their truth, that truth allows the nourishment for the relationship of intimacy to flourish. Because without it, like you just said, you're either in the past or you're in the future. If you're not living the truth, it's very hard to be in the present.
Correct. And like that word you said about, you know, intimacy. Into me you see. It's an incredible opportunity to be seen as you are. I mean, if you were talking to me and I've got this beautiful picture of John and the best image and the lighting and all the rest of it, nobody's getting to see me now and all the things I'm doing. So it's interesting, there's an image. And I love breaking words down, and the whole idea of like mage, there's a magician aspect to it. There's an alchemy, or like I said to you before about the spelling of ourselves. When we show up, that's a sense that you see what I want you to see. And that's a magic ability that some people I've met, some of the great actors and people who there's a certain aura about them, that there's an inner confidence. And some of the best people that I've worked with are very humble and very gentle, and it comes across. There's certain people, you see them and you just, or I see them and I listen to them, I go, yeah, you're a great actor or you're a great performer. You're also a very genuine and authentic human being, and authenticity flows through cameras and on all sorts of different platforms. That will be, when we see authenticity, that's a truth you don't have to worry about. And especially in light of what's going on in the world right now, when potentially there's a lack of authenticity or a lack of genuine knowledge and truth that's out there, it's a wonderful opportunity to look inside of ourselves and do the inner work. We talk about freedom. Freedom doesn't come without work. Freedom doesn't come without self-discipline. That delayed gratification. Oh, I'm free to eat what I want, do what I want. Well, yeah, that's going to limit your freedom if you're not able to run around because you're overweight or you don't have any money. That's not freedom. Freedom still has to come, or a choice of doing the work. That freedom from yourself, freedom from your thoughts, freedom from your fears, freedom from your doubts, freedom from criticism from others. There's a lot of different freedoms in the world. We don't just say, well, I want freedom. Well, if the world was just all free right now, it'd be chaos, because they want to be running around stealing stuff and doing whatever they wanted with no consequences. So freedom of self,
True.
freedom to wake up every day and make informed choices. Think about what I'm doing every day. Adjusting the show reel, right? Changing the light, changing the audio, just tweaking every day. The little, sometimes I've got time to play in myself and come up with better words, come up with more effective and efficient ways to be in this world. Meditation, stretching every morning with yoga or good foods. Like, take care of yourself in the most loving way that a lot of people treat others better than themselves. That's not freedom. That's almost slavery. You become the slave to others if other people get a better sense of you. Now, when we talk about relationships, some people treat everyone so well and yet not willing to accept in themselves. And when they don't get what they think they're giving to others, oh, you should be doing that for me. There's no rules around reflecting back the same energies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I give you my heart, I expect you to take care of it. You might do something with it and go, well, I don't want you to do that with it, but you gave it. You gave it to them to do something with. You cannot be upset if they choose to just treat it the way they see the opportunity to treat it that way. So boundaries, standards, that's practice. That's why life is a practice. Doctors have a practice. There is just a practice in life. There is no kind of sense that they know
There's
everything.
never perfection.
Well, there's perfection in the moment. There's perfection in all things, and it's all perfect. And if we accept that perfection, but if I expect myself to be perfect all the time in all areas, well, that's a very deluded and delusional sense of the truth. Because I know I strive for excellence. I don't strive for perfection, because I know perfection is in every moment. I just need to, or I choose to be present to my truth and how it gets distorted, how it changes. Oh gosh, that's affecting my truth. That's changing how I feel. I don't want you to say that anymore. No. Okay, well, what are you going to do, John? Do you want to get up, walk away? Do you want to change something? Is there some more tinkering to do? Take all the knowledge, take all the information that's coming in all the time. And when you've got moments to sift through it and find these little pearls of wisdom and find the phoenix rising from the ashes, it will happen.
Absolutely.
The accumulation, we got to let go, or we need to let go. Here's another need. The letting go is so important.
Absolutely. Letting go is
And tough.
essential.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. No, I totally agree. Letting go is one of the hardest things to face, to achieve. And it's all relative to acceptance and forgiveness, and then let it go. And so be it. And allowing it to be in the gallery, right? To allow that gallery to be there, and then people walk through. Hey, check out! Holy shit! This was a masterpiece. This moment right here. Oh.
It depends where you hang it. Where are you going to hang it? If you're only going to hang the good pieces in the front and all the crappy pieces at the back, you're not showing your true art.
Absolutely. And then that alone, to walk in your own gallery and allow people to walk through your gallery with such courage, courageousness, and faith within who you are, gives you the ability of how you stand up for what you truly believe in.
I think we kind of covered all those sort of little parts of what it takes to stand up for yourself and continue to stand up for yourself, because I can only stand under me. I don't want to understand you. I don't want to understand somebody else. I can only stand under me. And that's the understanding. I can comprehend what people say.
Awesome.
But that whole point of being an understanding experience is that my brain sits on top of my heart. The heart has the experience, the brain and the knowledge drives the journey of self-discovery, and it keeps unfolding. And as we've seen, the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain.
Yes, that's right.
The heart knows. We are compelled or impelled or propelled through the heart's experience, because once that stops, that's it, we're done. to this brain, this computer, this opportunity for me to program myself. And the sense now, there's nothing more to learn. It's about unlearning. If we unlearn the things that stop us, we don't have to replace them, because we already knew, like I said, when you're born, the code is there. We just got given a name, walk this way, eat this way, do these things. And after a while, we are this sort of conditioned being. The unlearning of coming back to soft and gentle and vulnerable, it's risky. It risks condemnation, it risks judgment, it risks scrutiny. But you know what? It's a reflection that we're all looking around like, well, you do it first, and you do it, and I'm just waiting for somebody to show me. But perhaps, and here's the kind of crux of it, maybe it's me teaching others. Did you ever think that you weren't the teacher, that you weren't the master? And if I keep waiting, there's a sense that really set yourself free first. You don't know how many people you can support and help when they go, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing that. Oh my God, I was shitting myself. I was so afraid. Yes, that's the point. We're all afraid. There's all fear there. But liberation comes from setting yourself into the truth. And they say the truth will set you free.
Absolutely. 100%. That's all part of letting go, right? It's the ability of freedom. Letting go is freedom. Freedom isn't holding shit.
We already are who we are. There's no need to keep disputing that. That's why there's the niggling. That's why there's the worry and the doubt, because there's some part of you, there's some part of me that's continually wanting to come out and evolve. There's a sense that I'm on my journey of destiny, and bring my children in and bring my friends in. We're all teachers for one another. Like I said, it's all relative. We can't do this alone, and I wouldn't want to do it alone. It'd be no fun at all if it was just me sitting in a cave, meditating my own navel, trying to figure out the master or the ideas of the universe. That's okay, and I'm not judging people if that's what that is. It doesn't start that way. We don't start out being born into a sterile environment. We get born into a very rich and complex experience that starts from the time you're born. It's on people. And then at some point we stop and have time to unpack and unfold and talk and share and listen. We always stand on the shoulders of those before us.
Isn't that a very interesting point? We always stand on the shoulders of the ones before us.
Ancestry. We wouldn't be here without them. They come with us all the time. And if we're not sure, we can ask that and remind people, bring your ancestors in. You know, they were there for a reason. They started this for us.
Don't forget the lineage.
Just because it's dark or it's, you know, there's a reason for all things. It's all kind of connected.
Yes.
The more we start to see this truth is that we're starting to uncover the past and realize that history, his story, is only a narrative. We don't know where we've come from. There's a whole other topic of conversation about.
That's the next one.
That's the next one.
Look, John, I think we need to wrap this up. I think we've really nailed on how to stand up for what you believe in this dialogue. I want to thank you. This has been a wonderful experience, so I really appreciate your time.
Blessings, man. Thank you, and thanks for creating this opportunity. It's been wonderful to share.
Could you leave me with one thing that you'd like to leave in the aspect of how to stand up for what you believe in?
We'll talk about self-belief, isn't it? That idea. I love, like I said, philosophy. For me, the philosophy comes. So two things is one, without breakdown and decay, there's no rejuvenation. So things need to fall apart. That kid needed to be challenged. That kid needed to be put in a situation where he knew his truth. He just lacked the ability. So sometimes that forcing, it's going to be forced out of us, and that's okay, because diamonds are formed under pressure. And the second one is life is not a puzzle to solve, but a mystery to live. So the idea of getting to any outcome just starts a new beginning, starts a new discovery of understanding. So enjoy the journey. There is destination. Death is waiting for us. That's it. That's the outcome. And that, oh, that was, I didn't think that's it. So every morning, the idea we wake up, the appreciation, the gratitude, you've got another day. You've got another moment. What are you going to do today? Let go. Time to let go. And if it's painful, great, you're on track. If there's fear there, great, you're on track. The emotions is the energy in motion. When we start to look at it from a perspective that it's all working for us, that's interpretation. And again, we're all interpreting our own. I trust for everybody. I mean, I leave everybody with the idea is that you're loved. It's meant to be. It might seem tough. It might seem insurmountable. I love the fact that sometimes brilliant opportunities are disguised as impossible situations. You wouldn't be in it. There's a way out. Ask, and you will receive.
Awesome.
There's these philosophies.
Awesome. Thank you, John. John, incredible man, incredible.
Well, love you, brother. Thank you.
Walking upon this earth, we thank you. It's been a joy, man. This is the start of something interesting and new. So if anyone's watching this and you'd like us, or like me, or you'd like John back to talk about something, please leave a comment and have a discussion point on that. Sorry, John.
You've got an incredible journey. I mean, we haven't really, I mean, I know people like your story, and I'd love to talk more about your experiences because you've got an incredible journey of self-discovery. So I appreciate the platform, and I look forward to hearing more of your experiences too, because I feel like they're all part of this experience.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Yeah, we will get there as the unfolding into humanity happens.
Loved it.
So this is Inspire Millions. It is stories to inspire your success. Be the person that you want to be and live the life that you truly want to dream. John, farewell. We'll speak soon.
Thank you, guys.